What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to be shooting some sheet metal with my Glock 20 chambered in 10mm auto, and I'm going to be testing the penetration of a variety of different 10mm auto ammunition. I want to see how many sheets of sheet metal the 10mm auto can penetrate through. And the sheet metal that I'm going to be using for this test is just some regular hot rolled steel 16 gauge sheet metal cut to 1 foot by 1 foot squares. And I have a special jig that I made to space out the sheets of sheet metal about 1.5 inches between each sheet. And I've done these tests before with rifle cartridges. I've done .308 Winchester, 300 Win Mag, and .416 Ruger. So this is going to be the first pistol test that I've done against sheet metal. Now, if you want to see the rifle tests, I'll leave a link to them in the top right corner of this video. So the pistol I'm going to be using for this test is my Glock 20 Gen 4. And it has a KKM precision 5-inch barrel. So the barrel is about a 1/2 inch longer than the factory barrel. But other than that, it's basically a stock Glock 20 Gen 4. Okay, it just has that 5-inch stainless steel barrel. And I just changed out the sights, and I have a stainless steel guide rod. Okay, so let me show you the ammunition I'm going to be using for this test. I'm going to be using a combination of full metal jackets, hard cast bear loads, jacketed hollow points, and Xtreme Penetrators. So I think that covers the range of 10mm bullets, with the exception of soft points, but I do have the hollow points. So let me just show you some of the ammo I'm going to use. So here's some of the full metal jacket ammunition. This is Ammo Inc. 180 grain full metal jacket, and this one has an advertised muzzle velocity of just under 1,200 feet per second. All right, they have it at 1,190 feet per second and 566 foot-pounds. Now, I've never actually chronographed this ammunition, so I can't verify that, but that's what they say. So that's one of the full metal jacket rounds I'm going to use, and here's another full metal jacket round I'm going to use. This one is an HSM 200 grain full metal jacket, and this one I have chronographed out of my Glock 20 with the 4.6-inch barrel, and that one I get a muzzle velocity of 1,055 feet per second and muzzle energy of 494 foot-pounds, and that was with the 4.6-inch barrel, not the 5-inch barrel that you see here. So you could probably add another 25 feet per second for this barrel. So these are the rounds, okay, up close. So on the left is the Ammo Inc. full metal jacket, 180 grain, just under 1,200 feet per second, 566 foot-pounds. And on the right is the HSM 200 grain full metal jacket, and that one has the muzzle velocity of 1,055 feet per second and muzzle energy of 494 foot-pounds. Okay, so 2 full metal jackets, and then of course we're going to test out some bear loads. Here I have some Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman 220 grain hard casts. I've chronographed these out of the stock 4.6-inch barrel, and I got a muzzle velocity of 1,130 feet per second and a muzzle energy of 624 foot-pounds. So much lower than what they advertised. They advertised 700 foot-pounds and 1,200 feet per second. So here's the round, okay, 220 grain hard cast. Excellent bear defense ammunition, excellent hunting ammunition. Look at that flat nose. So we're going to test that. And of course, we're going to test the Xtreme Penetrator. These are supposed to be really good at penetrating barriers, and sheet metal is a classic barrier. So this is Underwood ammo. All right, 140 grain Xtreme Penetrator. And I've chronographed these out of the 4.6 inch stock barrel, and I got 1,493 feet per second and 693 foot-pounds. Okay, so right around what they advertise it as. And this is the round right here, 140 grain Xtreme Penetrator. Okay, look at how it has that Phillips head screwdriver look to it. Pretty interesting bullet made by Lehigh Defense. And then finally, we're going to test a jacketed hollow point. We got some more Underwood ammo here, 200 grain jacketed hollow point. And I've chronographed these out of the stock 4.6 inch Glock barrel. And I got 1,227 feet per second and 669 foot-pounds. Okay, so this is the ammunition I'm going to be using. Once again, a combination of full metal jackets, jacketed hollow points, Xtreme penetrators, and bear loads. So this should give us a good indication of what a 10mm can do against sheet metal. How many sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal do you think these rounds will penetrate through? And before we get started with the test, I just want to mention the sponsor for this video, which is Mason Leather. Check out masonleather.com if you want some handmade cartridge carriers that go on your buttstock. And this business is owned by a veteran, and they're based out of Texas, 100% made in America. And if you use my promo code NY10, you can get 10% off of any product in their store. Okay, so masonleather.com, promo code NY10, 10% off when you check out. So if you buy a couple of these, apply the promo code in your shopping cart and it'll take 10% off your entire order. Okay, so that's a pretty good deal. And I've had this particular cartridge cuff on my 416 Ruger. You guys have probably seen this one on my channel. And I've had it for, I think, 3 years now, or 2 years, and several hunting seasons. And these loops are still holding the cartridges snug. The problem with a lot of the cheap nylon cartridge cuffs is that they loosen up over time and your cartridges will slip out. But the way that they do it at Mason Leather is they make it just perfect. And I think he uses actual dummy rounds or spent cases to make sure that these loops are snug. So they're not too tight or not too loose. They have to be just right. You want them to be tight enough so they don't fall out, but you don't want them to be too tight so you can't get them out in a hurry, especially if you're hunting dangerous game. So check them out, masonleather.com, promo code NY10 to get 10% off your entire order. All right, guys. First shot's going to be with the HSM 200 grain full metal jacket. Alright guys, second shot is going to be with the Ammo Inc. 180 grain full metal jacket. All right, guys, so these were my hits with the full metal jacket rounds. These two were the HSM 200 grain full metal jacket, and then this one was the Ammo Inc. 180 grain full metal jacket. I actually took one shot off camera with the HSM because I just wanted to see if it would even penetrate through one sheet. So it looks like the full metal jackets only penetrated through one sheet of 16 gauge sheet metal. Okay, so let me just show you guys what we got going on over here. We got some bullets over there, but none of them pass through the second sheet. All right, you can see the lumps, but none of them pass through. And it's pretty cool that we have some bullets here. We can take a closer look at them at home. So far, only one sheet with full metal jacket rounds, 10 millimeter, 5-inch barrel, Glock 20, KKM barrel. So let's hit it with some other stuff and see what happens. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna hit it with the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman. This is a 220 grain hard cast flat nose bullet, and it's being pushed out of the muzzle at around 1200 feet per second. 700 foot-pounds, so it's approaching 357 Magnum territory. Let's see what happens here. How many sheets is it going to go through? All right, guys, Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman, 10 millimeter, 220 grain hard cast, 700 foot-pounds. Looks like that one penetrated through two sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal. Look at that, pretty impressive. This is the back of the second sheet, and kind of left a little bit of a mark on the third sheet, but it didn't really put a big dent in the back of it, just a very small dent here. Okay, so two sheets with the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman, one sheet for the full metal jackets. Pretty interesting. Check that out, guys. I'm gonna try to find the bullets. Actually, it looks like we have our bullet right here. Check this out. Yeah, this is it right here. That's the bullet. Check that out. 220 grain hard cast. It's pretty impressive that it held together. Look at that. Perfect mushroom. It's pretty impressive. So let's hit it with some other stuff now and see what happens. All right, guys. So now we got the Underwood Ammo 140 grain Xtreme Penetrator. This one has a muzzle velocity of around 1500 feet per second. I'm really curious how many sheets this thing is going to go through. The famous Xtreme Penetrator. Is it going to be able to penetrate through sheet metal as good as a full metal jacket or a hard cast bare load? Let's see what happens here. I'm going to take a second shot with the Xtreme Penetrator. All right, guys, pretty impressive results with the Xtreme Penetrator from Underwood Ammo. Looks like it penetrated through 3 sheets. That's pretty impressive. So this was my first shot, and then down here was my second shot, and both of them went through 3 sheets. Okay, got 1, 2, 3, and then it looks like it hit the 4th one here and probably just bounced or fell off somewhere. And here's the first shot that I took, cleanly penetrating through 3 sheets, and it's stuck in the 4th sheet, so that's cool. We'll be able to dig that out and take a closer look at it, check the weight retention. But look at how disfigured the 4th sheet. Looks like it almost penetrated the 4th sheet. Actually, you know, if you consider the fact that it punched through the metal here, but it didn't actually pass through, but if you consider the fact that it actually cracked the metal, then we have 4 sheets. Okay, 4 sheets for the Xtreme Penetrator. Same thing down here. You can see that it actually cracked the metal. Okay, you see it punched a little bit of a hole, but it didn't have enough energy to pass through, and then it just bounced off. But it actually did punch through a little bit. Okay, so 3 sheets cleanly passing through 3 sheets, and 4 sheets it just barely punched through, as you can see. Okay, there's the nose of the bullet. So pretty impressive, guys. Looks like that Xtreme Penetrator lives up to the name. I was a little bit skeptical because I've had pretty poor results with Xtreme Penetrators in other material like wood and drywall and plywood and things like that. I had really poor penetration in those types of materials, but it looks like in harder materials like sheet metal, it does a better job. So pretty impressive. So that's 1 more sheet, possibly 2 more sheets than the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman, and 2 more sheets than the Full Metal Jackets. So pretty interesting. So now I'm going to hit this sheet metal with a jacketed hollow point. Let's see what happens with the jacketed hollow point. Alright, guys, so now I'm going to hit it with the Underwood Ammo 200 grain jacketed hollow point. This is a hot load, so let's see what happens. How many sheets of sheet metal you think it'll go through? 16 gauge sheet metal. Alright, guys, so here's my hit with the 200 grain jacketed hollow point, and it only penetrated through 1 sheet. I'm surprised it even penetrated through 1 sheet, and surprisingly it actually held together. You can see the bullet there stuck in the 2nd sheet. So pretty interesting results, and it left a pretty big dent on the back here. Okay, check that out. Pretty big dent, and it looks like it did split the sheet metal just a little bit. You can see just a tiny little split there. So pretty interesting results, guys. So it looks like if you're looking to penetrate through sheet metal or something similar, you definitely want to go with a high velocity round like the Xtreme Penetrator. And that one penetrated through 3, almost 4 sheets. The Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman penetrated through 2 sheets. And the Full Metal Jackets and jacketed hollow points penetrated through just 1 sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to recover all the bullets, and we're going to take a closer look at all these sheets and the bullets. We're going to see what kind of weight retention we got. But I'm pretty impressed by that Xtreme Penetrator. I can't believe it penetrated through 3 sheets. That's really impressive. So stay tuned. We're going to take a closer look at these sheets and the bullets. All right, guys, so I want to give you a closer look at the sheets. So here we have the first sheet. Check that out. Look at how that buffalo bore hard cast kind of left a lot of that lead around the hole. It looks like it just kind of exploded when it hit the sheet metal. Pretty interesting. And here was our Xtreme Penetrator. Another Xtreme Penetrator. There's the HSM. There's the second HSM. There's the Ammo Ink. And then here's the Underwood Ammo jacketed hollow point. It's pretty interesting that the Ammo Ink didn't leave any jacket material or lead like the HSM did. Both of them are full metal jackets, but the Ammo Ink seems to have left a cleaner cut in the sheet metal. Now obviously it was moving about 150 feet per second faster, so that could be why, or it uses thicker jacket material than the HSM. So you can see how some of the lead there just kind of splattered when it hit the sheet metal from these HSMs, and the Xtreme Penetrator just cutting clean holes. Okay, there's the other Xtreme Penetrator right up here. But that buffalo bore looks crazy. How that lead just kind of splattered when it hit the sheet metal. Pretty interesting. And then the jacketed hollow point, similar to the HSM. So here's the back. Okay, look at how the jacketed hollow point left this nasty exit hole. Check that out. You got these chunks of steel. Okay, and this steel looks really thin. It looks like aluminum foil, but it's not. I have strong hands and I can't even bend this. I'm putting a lot of pressure, and I'm not even able to bend that. So that's from the jacketed hollow point. Look at how it just ripped through the sheet metal. So pretty interesting. And here's the Xtreme Penetrator. Xtreme Penetrator. And then here we have the buffalo bore hard cast, the 2 HSMs, and then the Ammo Ink. So pretty interesting. And here we have the second sheet. And you can see the dents here. Check that out. This is from the HSM, these 2 holes from the HSM full metal jacket, and then from the Ammo Ink full metal jacket. Pretty interesting. And what's really interesting is there's actually like a secondary hole here, or not a hole, but like a little dimple. And I'm not sure if that's from a fragment of steel from the sheet before, or if that was a jacket fragment, but that's pretty interesting. So this is why when you do these tests, you always have to keep your distance away from the target, because you're going to have chunks of lead and copper and possibly fragments of sheet metal splashing back at you. But check that out. Pretty big dimples here from the full metal jackets, but no penetration. And then here's the Underwood Ammo 200 grain jacketed hollow point. Look at how it's just embedded in there. So interesting, guys. So the full metal jacket and the jacketed hollow point did not penetrate through more than 1 sheet of 16 gauge hot rolled sheet metal. So pretty interesting. And then here we have the buffalo bore heavy Outdoorsman. You can see more lead splatter or lead splash, whatever you want to call it. Pretty interesting. And then here we have the Xtreme Penetrator up here, and then the other Xtreme Penetrator down here. Clean cuts in the metal. And then here's the back. Okay, and so here we have our full metal jackets, HSM, Ammo Inc. Here's the jacketed hollow point from Underwood, and actually it looks like it wanted to penetrate through the second sheet, but it didn't have enough power to penetrate through. Okay, you can see it fractured the steel a little bit. See that? But not enough power to punch through cleanly. And then here we have the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman. Check that out, guys. Look at this exit hole. Look at these pieces of steel here. Pretty interesting. So, left a massive hole. And here's one of the Xtreme Penetrators. And then here's the other Xtreme Penetrator. And then here we have the third sheet. And not much to really see here on the third sheet. So we have Xtreme Penetrator, and then this is where the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman stopped. Just left a little dimple in the sheet, but nothing crazy. There's a little bit of like lead dust, it looks like, embedded onto the surface of the sheet, but that's pretty much it. And then here's the back of the third sheet. There's one of the Xtreme Penetrators, the other Xtreme Penetrator, and then a small dent on the back of the third sheet. So 2 sheets for the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman hard cast. And then finally we have the 4th sheet. And here we have one of our Xtreme Penetrators, okay, stuck in the 4th sheet. And we lost the other one, but you can see it actually punched through. It started to punch through. So almost 4 sheets. Pretty impressive. And I tried to find the second Xtreme Penetrator, but I couldn't find it. And here's the back of the 4th sheet. I'll show you guys up close. You can see it punched through the back of the 4th sheet. But it didn't actually cleanly cut through. It didn't have enough velocity and energy to cleanly cut through and pass through completely. But that's still really impressive for a handgun round. Very, very impressive. And look at how it dented the metal here. You know, this whole corner is just bent like crazy. Look how thick that metal is, guys. That's some thick stuff. You know, you're not going to be able to bend this by hand. You can't just bend this back. You know, this isn't aluminum foil here. This is thick sheet metal. So that's pretty impressive. And still in a nose forward position. I'm impressed. And then look at this hole, how that just made this huge dent here. And then check that out. That's just insane. So 3 sheets with the Xtreme Penetrator Underwood ammo. Looks like the Xtreme Penetrator lived up to its name, and it out-penetrated the hard cast from Buffalo Bore, out-penetrated full metal jackets and jacketed hollow points. So 3 sheets of 16 gauge hot rolled sheet metal for the 10mm Underwood ammo Xtreme Penetrator. 2 sheets for the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman bare load, and 1 sheet for the Underwood ammo 200 grain jacketed hollow point, and 1 sheet for the full metal jackets from HSM and Ammo Inc. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a closer look at these bullets with you. We're going to weigh them to see what kind of weight retention we got, and take some measurements to see what kind of expansion we got. But I'm pretty impressed with that Xtreme Penetrator. I did not expect it to pass through 3 sheets, almost 4. I thought maybe it would go through 2 sheets. I didn't think 3 or 4. So stay tuned and we'll take a closer look at the bullets that I recovered. All right, guys, so I want to show you these bullets up close, and the good news is I was able to recover at least one of each type of bullet. So that's really good. We can take a look at these bullets after they went through the sheet metal. So here we have the jacketed hollow point. Here we have the Xtreme Penetrator. Here we have the Buffalo Bore hard cast heavy Outdoorsman. And then these two are the HSM full metal jackets. And then I found what I believe to be one of the jackets. And then here we have the Ammo Inc. full metal jacket. So let me just give you guys a really close-up look now. So here's the Ammo Inc. full metal jacket. And what's really interesting is that the jacket actually stayed with the core. So Ammo Inc. must use a pretty good quality jacket, pretty strong material. Looks like they might even use a brass jacket. I don't know, it looks kind of like brass almost, the color. But you can see the core was pushed out a little bit through the front, and you can see the nose took a beating, and there we have the lead core. But that's pretty interesting. So there's the Ammo Inc. And then here we have the HSM full metal jackets. And so what you're looking at here are the bases of those full metal jackets. Look at how they were just completely flattened out. And I could not find the jackets. I think I might have found one jacket, but I couldn't really tell if this is the jacket from these bullets or if this was just another jacket from the range, somebody else shooting. But either way, the difference between the HSM and the Ammo Inc. is that the HSM shed its jacket while the Ammo Inc., the jacket stayed with the core. And look at how it just flattened out like crazy, like little quarters here. And then here we have a little piece of the sheet metal here, this little round thing. That's actually from the first sheet that this bullet penetrated through. So when you shoot sheet metal, the bullets just punch through the sheet metal like a hole puncher in paper, and you get these little coins of sheet metal left over, and they often get embedded in the nose of the bullet. Okay. And then here we have the Buffalo Bore heavy Outdoorsman 220 grain hard cast, flattened out quite a bit. Look at that, but still managed to maintain some shape. So that's pretty impressive. Still held together. So look at the difference between a full metal jacket and a hard cast bullet. This is why you want to use hard cast bullets for dangerous game. I mean, just imagine this full metal jacket slamming into a grizzly bear shoulder. It would probably flatten out in a very similar way, versus the hard cast would maintain more of its shape and keep penetrating through. So pretty crazy, but pretty impressed by the hard cast. And then here we have the winner, the dominator of this test, the Xtreme Penetrator, the famous Xtreme Penetrator from Lehigh Defense. Lived up to its name, penetrated through 3 sheets, almost 4, pretty impressive. And you can see the steel pieces embedded into the nose of this bullet, and it's almost impossible to separate those pieces of steel from the bullet. They're just fused together, basically like welded together because of the friction. When the bullet hit the sheet metal, it just kind of welds those little pieces of metal to the bullet. So there's no way I can separate that. So we're going to have to weigh this one with the steel pieces attached, unfortunately. And then here's one piece that wasn't attached, kind of fell off. Okay, so this is actually one of the pieces of sheet metal. Okay, so pretty cool. And then here we have the jacketed hollow point, and the jacketed hollow point actually stayed together, but when I was trying to pry it out, the jacket separated. So this Underwood ammo 200 grain jacketed hollow point is definitely not a bonded bullet by any means, but still a lot of the bullet material managed to survive. Okay, still a good chunk of lead here, so I'm sure we're gonna have pretty high weight retention. Okay, so check this out. This is what the jacket looks like. Okay, pretty cool. So I'm going to get my scale out and we're going to weigh these and see what kind of weight retention we get. All right, guys, so I got my scale here and I zeroed it out. Here's a 100-gram weight. Just going to check and make sure it's zeroed. So we got 100.01 grams, so it's basically zeroed out. And let's start weighing these bullets. So here's that 200 grain jacketed hollow point from Underwood, penetrated through one sheet of 16 gauge hot rolled sheet metal. 181.9 grains, so it only lost 18 grains. That's pretty impressive. I'm impressed. Moving on, here's the 140 grain Xtreme Penetrator from Underwood Ammo. We got 152.2 grains, so it actually added 12 grains. And the reason why it added 12 grains is because of those pieces of sheet metal fused to the nose of the bullet. And it's basically impossible to get them out because they're basically welded together. Okay, but I'm really impressed by the Xtreme Penetrator. It penetrated through 3 sheets, almost 4. And here we have the Buffalo Bore Heavy Outdoorsman 220 grain hard cast, penetrated through 2 sheets. Let's see what kind of weight retention. 191.9 grains, so it lost almost 30 grains. Interesting. That's still very good weight retention. And then finally, our full metal jackets. Here's one of the HSM full metal jackets. Completely lost the jacket, so we're just weighing the core. And we got 152.9 grains, so lost about 47 grains. So still pretty good. It's about 75% weight retention. Here's the other HSM full metal jacket. We got 170.8 grains. And then finally, here's the Ammo Inc. 180 grain full metal jacket. We got 176.8. Wow, pretty impressive. So looks like the Ammo Inc. full metal jacket might have lost the least amount of weight. So if you're going to get a full metal jacket for 10mm, check out the Ammo Inc. It seems like they use high quality bullets. So very interesting results, and all the full metal jackets penetrated through just 1 sheet of sheet metal. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. If you want to see my rifle tests, check the top right corner of this video. I've done 308, 300 Win Mag, and 416 Ruger. Check out my sponsor, Mason Leather. Use the promo code NY10 to get 10% off your entire shopping cart. And check out all my other sponsors. They're in the description below the video. I have Olight, I have My Patriot Supply, I have Genesis Gold Group, and some other ones. So check out my sponsors, and I have more sheet metal tests planned. So stay tuned to my channel for more sheet metal penetration tests. If you want to see more 10mm videos, check out my 10mm playlist. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.